Internet! Hello, you lovelies, and welcome to This Week in Comics. We're going to mix it up a little this week. Instead of a couple big news stories, there wasn't a lot of big news this week. We're going to do a lot of smaller stories. So, a bit more of a rapid fire, catch you up on news. We're going to talk about Downey's comments on Doom. We're going to talk about the potential of a Wesley Snipes Blade that is currently percolating. We're going to talk about Todd Philips talking about the Joker 2. We're going to talk about some stuff happening over at DC. We're going to talk about those Hellboy picks, and we're going to talk about two X-Men teams being in X-Men 97 in addition to the X-Men. We got a lot to talk about, so if you're new to this page, please hit that subscription bell. Trying to get to 36K by my birthday. That is September 15th, which means we have like 3.5 weeks to get there, and I think we can. Also, leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought of this news. Let me know if there's anything you want to talk about in the world of comic book news. And I talk about comic books later on in the episode. I read about 50 to 60 comics a week, so you don't have to. I give you the 9 I think you'd like most. I give you my 9 favorites, but I also try to make them the more accessible books to new readers, as well as previewing the books at the end of the episode that drop today, the 21st of August, all the new books at your local comic shop. So leave a comment down below as well about what you're reading. Let me know if you're reading any of my favorites or you're looking forward to any of the books that are available this week at your local comic shop. So subscribe, like, comment, hit buttons. Without further ado, this is This Week in Comics.
Let's do the list. Spider-Man.
Guilty.
The Incredible Hulk.
Afraid so.
Oh man, this is so cool. The X-Men.
Now that you mention it.
Alright, right at the top, let's talk about Downey as Doom. Now, from the jump, I've been saying he is not going to be a Tony Stark variant. They wouldn't do that. It would be even more of a mess than I think this potential mess. And I've been saying from the beginning, I'm not in love with this news, but I really, really can't wait to be proven wrong. I think Downey Jr. is an incredible actor. I do think this is a little short-sighted and has the potential to undermine Dr. Doom with the pizzazz of Downey, and there's no way we'll see him and not think of Iron Man, but I'm sure they're aware of that, and maybe they'll write their way around it. That said, it's not my favorite news. But we do have confirmation from the man himself. He is playing Victor Von Doom, you guys. I keep seeing all these Tony variant conversations on the internet. It keeps being like, they announced him as Victor Von Doom. The Russo brothers said the only way to show the impact of the multiverse is by casting the best actor alive to play Victor Von Doom. He's not a Tony Stark variant. Also, to all the people that have read 7 Wikipedia pages about comic books, there is not a comic book precedent for this. The closest thing is a What If issue that's not very good, that has them body swapping, but there is no body to swap if there's never been a Von Doom. Also, Infamous Iron Man is patently not this story, because that is the legacy of Doom trying to be a better person after he becomes a god after Civil War II, and it's Doom becoming the body of Iron Man like the Iron Man suit, not Tony Stark. There is no precedent for this. I digress. He said, how can we not go backwards? How do we not disappoint expectations? How can we continue to beat expectations? Let's get Victor Von Doom right. So Downey is acknowledging that there are a lofty amount of expectations, and that it would, in my opinion, and I assume Kevin Feige and Robert Downey Jr.'s as well, undermine the legacy of Iron Man to bring him back as Iron Man or a Tony Stark variant. We will see what that means for Doom, but he's playing Victor Von Doom. So I'm hoping this quote quiets 30% of the people that are like, variant. He's not a variant. He's playing Victor Von Doom. Over to Blade, you lovelies. Blade is a movie in constant peril. It's a movie in constant contention. It's a movie in constant upheaval. It is a movie good, for the sorest words. It is a movie that I was really excited for 4 or 5 years ago when it was announced. I think Mahershala Ali is a genius. I do think the amount of writers that have walked off this project, the amount of directors that have walked off this project, Mahershala being a man that wants it done right makes me happy. That said, I don't know how much the public is invested in that movie anymore, and I do know how much the public is thrilled to see Wesley Snipes as Blade. I could see this rumor happening. Rumor has it that they are talking about doing a Wesley Snipes legacy Blade, not the Mahershala Ali new Blade. I personally would love to see a Logan Blade. I would love to see that Last Ride story. I'd love to see Old Man Blade. And I think Wesley Snipes, I mean, he's one of the best martial artist actors of those 80s and 90s, and he can still move. We saw him just eviscerate Toad in Deadpool and Wolverine. But I also think there's a market for it. We are living in an age of nostalgia. We're living in an age of familiarity to the comfort of that world when the world's so discomforting. I think that nostalgia is a coping mechanism, and I think that it can be used very negatively, and I think it can be weaponized, but I also think that that can be a way to subvert expectations if done right. I think nostalgia is dangerous if you live in it, but I also think that it can be a tool, if used well, that can help a character come back. I don't think people think about Blade as much as they should. He's awesome. Blade, the Wesley Snipes Blade, is the reason we have the MCU. Blade came out in 98. It is so influential. It led to so many things. X-Men were huge in 2000. Spider-Man, huge in 2001. Blade was first, and I think it was really impactful. But when Blade was coming out, it wasn't even sold as a comic book film. People saw it as a vampire movie. People didn't realize the Marvel comic element to scale. Some people knew. I think this could be a cool opportunity to give Wesley Snipes' Blade his Marvel moment, to be a bigger deal in the greater Marvel lore. And it'd be kind of a cool way to get the awareness around Blade back up. I mean, you could do, if you're going to recast Mahershala, which I'm afraid is likely, have Wesley Snipes play Blade one more time, and then 5 years later, post-Secret Wars, have a new Blade. Get the brand that is Blade back up. Because last year, one of my favorite Blade runs ever was in the comic books. There was an incredible run of Blade that ended like 4 months ago. It started last year. It was so good. It was clearly meant to coincide with the Mahershala movie because it was supposed to come out already, or supposed to come out like last year. I don't know if this new Blade's going to happen. If it doesn't, Wesley Snipes' Blade is a great idea. Ryan Reynolds is pushing it heavy. He posted on his Instagram again today, that Blade's the guy. He's been saying, the greatest of all time, Wesley Snipes. He clearly sees something. I'm hoping the rumors are a little more true because of Ryan Reynolds' push. I'm hoping there's stuff happening behind the scenes that is causing Ryan Reynolds to be like, by the way, here's your guy. Because there is an incredible moment in Deadpool and Wolverine when we first see him. I think this has potential. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Do you want to see Wesley Snipes back as Blade for a Logan-style story? Would you rather see Mahershala Ali? Do you think that's even possible? Again, let's talk about Blade in the comments below. I would love to see either. But at this point, I do think the Wesley Snipes one might be more likely. Time will tell. Let me know in the comments below what you think. All right, over to X-Men 97. X-Men 97 Season 2 comes out next year because they already mapped out Season 1 and 2 together. So blissfully, we're not waiting 4 years between seasons. We're actually living like the 90s where shows come out yearly. I'm very excited for this, and we got an update from Brad Winderbaum, the producer of the TV stuff over at Marvel, delightful fellow, and excited about X-Men. He is discussing it, saying there are going to be 2 new teams in the X-Men 97 Season 2 show, and we already know that they're going to be in the Grant Morrison costume, so that leads me to think early 2000s. Early 2000s makes me think, hey, maybe Generation X? I hope. I've been saying since, look at my video from what comics to read for X-Men 97 Season 2. I said back in that video, which was months ago, Generation X. I think late 90s, early 2000s is prime Generation X. I would love to see those characters. I'm not sure that's what he was implying, but that's my hope. I do think we're almost guaranteed to get X-Force, which is the R-rated mercenary team of X-Men that do the stuff that the X-Men can't. I think we might get an X-Factor, because I think the team might split, and obviously they're split across time if you've seen the show, but it'd be interesting if we have a certain group form X-Factor, which is more the OGs, or at least the first iteration of X-Factor was, and then the X-Men are the new guard, and then maybe Generation X as a pipe dream. But more than likely, I think it's going to be X-Men, X-Factor, X-Force, but I'm a hope for Generation X until we find out. Let me know in the comments below what team you want to see with that X-moniker. I could see either of those pretty easily, and both are exciting. And if they do Generation X, even as a nod to me, I'll be happy. Just give me Chamber for one episode. I'll be so stoked. All right, let me know. Like I said in the comments below, let's keep speed rounding all the news. Over to Hellboy. Hellboy is a property I'm very excited about. These photos just came out. Hellboy, I got to host the panel at San Diego Comic-Con. We were hosting while the Marvel panel was in Hall H. We were in the 4th biggest room at all of Comic-Con, and we filled it while Marvel was going on. I was so proud. There were people in the back standing. Like, this was the full room. And it went great. Like, the footage we showed had cheers. The trailer we debuted was incredible. People loved it. And Mike Mignola wrote this. Like, the writer, the creator of Hellboy, wrote the adaptation of his favorite Hellboy story. Ironically, not one he wrote. But it's this great Appalachian myth that he adapted into Hellboy. He didn't, sorry. The original comic writer adapted into Hellboy, and then he adapted that story into this movie. So Mike Mignola is super hands-on. This is his favorite Hellboy story. He wrote the script for the movie as directed by Brian Taylor, starring Jack Kesey. And dude, meeting this guy, he was Hellboy. It was insane. Talking to him like, yeah, you're Hellboy. They just found Hellboy, and they need to paint him red. These photos are dope. I know it's coming out really soon. I know marketing on it has been like, what I did at Comic-Con, I think, was the biggest push. I want to help get the word out about Hellboy. These photos are dope. I'm hoping we get to see more. The dude is Hellboy. I'm really excited for this movie. Just wanted to give it some awareness. That is your Dark Horse news. Over to DC. DC Comics has an ad, like an actual ad for comic books. They are doing these mini comic books that are manga-sized, and they're $10, and they've got a whole bunch of them. And not only are they $10, they're selling out everywhere, and now there's an ad. I made a joke on Twitter, like, I thought FTC regulations said you couldn't advertise comics. I was being sarcastic. A few people didn't get it. It's crazy that no one does this. I want more ads for comics. Marvel does occasionally through their digital stuff, but this is an ad to physically buy physical copies of comic books. Now, Skybound does this occasionally, Boom does this occasionally, but I've never seen something like this from DC for general comics. Right before their movies come out, starting with The Batman, they did, like, what to read. They might have done it earlier, but The Batman was the first one I noticed. They just announced the Superman ones, which I did a video about, but this is exciting for just generally getting into comics, and the array of these is fantastic. So seek these out, $10. There's an ad. I'm so excited. Let's get people reading comics. That's what this show is about. I'm elated. Marvel, please, just start doing the things like this. It's right there. DC Comics. Speaking of DC Comics, just a brief bit of news. It was rumored / lightly confirmed that the Righteous Gemstone guys were going to be writing Booster Gold. It was rumored / lightly confirmed. They're not anymore. So it looks like Danny McBride might still be working with DC down the line, but it does not look like they're going to be the Booster Gold writing team, as was rumored / confirmed. I never could tell how certain that ever was, which intrigues me. Speaking of DC, let's talk about the Joker 2. Todd Phillips came out and had a few quotes this week. I want to dive into them a little bit because I'm really excited for Joker 2. But the first Joker movie always felt like a great Elseworld to me. It always felt like a very Scorsese, serious Joker. But I don't think of the Joker when I think of that movie. And that's okay because it's its own separate thing. It's an Elseworld. Like, when I think of Batman Beyond, I don't think of Bruce Wayne Batman. I think of Batman Beyond. And when I think of this Joker, I don't think of, like, the Joker. I think of Phoenix's portrayal in this Scorsese-esque film. But these new quotes, they're in the same vein. Harley Quinn is not Harley Quinn if she doesn't have Harley Quinn's voice, mannerisms, and antics. She'll just be Lady Gaga as a character named Harley Quinn in a Joker movie, which is just Phoenix's take. It's just like, I've accepted that. It's just really weird that Todd Phillips comes out and says, like, this is completely different, but it's the character. Is it? Here's this quote about Harley Quinn. Doesn't sound like Harley Quinn, but I get how it is Harley Quinn. I just think it's interesting to come at marketing this way. Also, what he said about musicals. I think he described a musical, but he's trying to make it sound like not a musical. This is a very funny tactic. And then, obviously, the Joker himself not being the clown prince of crime he's talked about before. All of this is just odd tactics. Like I said, I'm excited for the movie. It's the same as the first movie where he's not the character, but he's the character, but he's not the character, but he's the character. But this is now Harley Quinn not being Harley Quinn, but dubbed that. And then the musical element sounds exactly the same. Like, what you're describing as a musical, I'm still excited, but I think if people accept the things, it'll be an easier pill to swallow. Just let it be a musical. And that doesn't sell. That's why he's doing this. It's going to be interesting when people feel hoodwinked, that they're like, they told me it wasn't a musical. I saw a musical. It's an interesting tactic. I'm really excited for the Looney Tunes element. Apparently the film opens with a Looney Tunes inspired segment. Basically Joker story, cartoon as Looney Tunes, then into the musical elements. Then, like, this movie sounds bananas. I think that's great for Joker. I'm really intrigued by it, but I'm not expecting the Joker. I'm expecting the sequel to Joaquin Phoenix's take on a Scorsese Joker by Todd Phillips. So I think expectations are important, so we'll see. These quotes were just funny to me. And last bit of news, going from Joker to the new #1 R-rated movie of all time, because it dethroned the Joker. Also, Todd Phillips' graphic here with Deadpool in the Steps was very, like, good of him. I think that was really, like, humble and lovely. Like when James Cameron and the Russos were going back and forth with Avatar and Avengers and stuff, that was sweet as hell. I love that Todd Phillips did this for Joker. And again, my saying all that isn't to besmirch Todd Phillips. It's just a funny tactic because it feels like kind of dancing around truths. But I love this image, and I also love that they're so cool back and forth about it, because Deadpool is officially the #1 R-rated movie of all time, dethroning Joker. This movie is still doing gangbusters. We talked about box office the last 3 weeks, so I'm not going to dive into it too much more. At the end of its run, I'll list all the records it's broken, but the record it broke this week is the #1 R-rated movie in the history of movies. That's insane. I'm so happy for my boy. That's going to do it for the news. I was going to talk about Craven, but this is already long enough with the Barrage of news, and you guys saw my reaction over at Real Rejects, as well as you can see my little, like, character cameo, because Chameleon's in this trailer, Calypso's in this trailer, obviously his dad's in this trailer. There's a lot of Ditko era in this trailer. It came out, like, about a week ago, so you already know all this stuff, but if you want to see more, check out my Real Rejects reaction. That is going to do it for the news. Let's talk about the comics themselves. My books this week, man, it was a stacked week in comics. Let's talk about them. These are my favorite comics for the week of August 14th. Last week's books were insane. These are my favorite 9, and your eyes do not deceive you. That is Amazing Spider-Man 55. You guys know I'm critical of the current Amazing Spider-Man run that has been running for a very long time. That isn't how I perceive Spider-Man, but this issue is. This is a very contained issue. You could just read this issue and understand it. Like, it's not part of the greater storyline. There's characters you might not recognize, but the heart of the story is so freaking good. It's a modern Silver Age story. It's Peter Parker down on his luck dealing with the consequences of being Spider-Man. It's Spider-Man on a date, and I love that OG flavor. I see him as with Mary Jane, but it's really cool to see this opportunity to use some of the storylines I don't like to have Peter Parker on a date while being Spider-Man. Rhino's here in a really fun way. This issue is just charming and great. I really loved it. I wish the run had felt more like this. Next up, we've got Batman Gotham by Gaslight number 3. This is another of that steampunk era. Every issue they've introduced a new character. This world building is great. It's an Elseworld. You only have to read these 3 issues to this point. No other continuity required. It's a really fascinating take on Batman, on Catwoman, on Superman, because they got some kryptonite stuff coming in. This is such a great example of what an Elseworld can be. This book stays amazing. Fantastic Four 23, my favorite Fantastic Four run of all time. I love the Ringo run. I love the classic Kirby run. I love the Hickman run. This run by Ryan North is essential. It is so exactly who these characters are. It's adventure, it's science, it's family. This is right after all the stuff in Blood Hunt, so it's back to their own adventures. I love the family dynamics in this book, in this particular issue. I love how they come back together. I love how much science is a part of this book. I love that I learn things in this book a lot of the time. Read this Fantastic Four run. Sensational. We've got Geiger number 5. This is one of the best new characters in comics in the last 5 years. It's written by Jeff Johns, art by Gary Frank. It is part of the Ghost in the Machine imprint over at Image, and each of these characters is kind of like their own universe, but it's going to be shared at some point in some way. Like, there's an umbrella of all these characters. That overcomplicates it. You only need to read Geiger if you want to read Geiger. There's other good stuff at that imprint, but Geiger's its own thing, and it is so rich in storytelling. It's funny, it's action-packed, it's energetic, it's got really good superhero origin and lore, it's got a 2-headed dog named Cerebus. It is so what I read comics for. There's so much heart, there's so much passion, there's so much love for comics. This story feels like a classic Silver Age tale, but with modern elements. Love Geiger. Sensational She-Hulk number 10 is the last Sensational She-Hulk of this team, and it's a bummer. I really liked this book. Rowell wrote the hell out of a rom-com. This is a romantic comedy She-Hulk, and I loved that. I love her relationship with Jack of Hearts. I love her dynamic with the Avengers. I love how much this is her relationship with the Avengers, with being a lawyer, with Jack of Hearts, with herself. There's so much beautiful inner conflict and charm and just fun and whimsy. This book's fun. And I love a good fun book. And I love romance when it works for the character. She-Hulk was a delight. If you like the character, check out this run. It's only 10 issues. It was really strong. I'm gonna miss it. Ultimates number 3, man. Ultimates, killing it. All of it. Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Black Panther, Ultimate X-Men, Ultimates. Of those, my second favorite is Ultimates. Ultimate Spider-Man is like some of the best Spider-Man in years. Ultimates is so good. This issue in particular deals with, I don't want to give too much away, deals with this version of the Avengers and their perception in this new world, trying to recruit someone, and they have to go to an island full of, oh, this will give a lot away, but gamma-radiated locals. And you just have so much compassion for the locals immediately. You care so much about how they're interacted with the Ultimates. It's a really great way to set up the new version of an iconic Avenger. Really solid stuff from Ultimates. Check out issue 3. Go back to 1. You're not that far behind. Get after Ultimates. It's really solid. And read Ultimate Spider-Man. Life-changing stuff. Then we've got Vengeance of Moon Knight number 8. Mark Spector's been dead for like a year. He's back. I rarely like legacy characters as much as the original. Like, there are exceptions. I love Kyle Rayner. I love Miles Morales. I love Con-El. But, like, rarely are they as strong. I really left the book a bit when we lost the lead of the book. Like, without Moon Knight doesn't feel right. The new characters are great, but they're not Moon Knight. Having him back, it's immediately, like, I feel very vindicated. Like, this book's great again. Vengeance of Moon Knight, beautiful art, beautiful world building. It's good to have Moon Knight back. Check this out. Over to Venom War. Venom War Spider-Man #1 is Peter Parker back in the symbiote suit, and their relationship is fascinating. They're not permanently bonded, but they are in communication. It's more of a dialogue. It's more of a relationship, and they've been through some stuff. On paper, this wouldn't have worked for me, but it's really interesting, their dynamic. The flirtiness, the action, the Peter Parker realizing how much better certain things are, the symbiote having that like lost lover element. This book is so interesting and great, and that brings me right to the final book. 9 is going to be X-Men #2. This is art by Ryan Stegman. It is so visually rich and interesting. The writing's great. Jed McKay read a lot of the Black Cat stuff I dug, just wrote Blood Hunt. Jed McKay's killing it. This is the second issue of this new imprint. It does kind of loosely tie into Uncanny, but you could just read this. And it's this team of X-Men recruiting a new mutant and already having to try to like manipulate what it is to be an X-Men, and like this new era back to being around just regular humans, and what the politics are post-Krakoa, and the impact of the X-Men being back around the world, plus the action here, the team dynamics, all of the stuff that make me love the X-Men. X-Men #2, check it out. That is going to do it. These are my top 9 for the week of August 14th. What did you love last week? Let me know in the comments below. Did you read any of these? Are you reading stuff that I might have missed? Let me know in the comments. Let's talk about comics like in the back of a comic store with respect, dignity, and nerdy love. These books I thought were exceptional. Let's talk about the books that are out this week, the week of August 21st. These books you can pick up right now at your local comic shop. These are the ones I'm going to be checking out. All right, August 21st, over from Marvel first, we've got Daredevil, Woman Without Fear #2, Deadpool #5, Get Fury #4, Ghost Rider Final Vengeance #6, Giant Size Thor #1, Miles Morales Spider-Man Annual #1, that's for this year, Namor #2, Phoenix #2, Predator vs. Black Panther, so excited for that, #1, Scarlet Witch #3, Spider-Woman #10, Star Wars #49, my book of the week, almost guaranteed, this book has been killing it, Ultimate Spider-Man #8, Venom War Carnage, though might take it as well, because Venom War has been solid. That is Venom War Carnage #1, as well as Venom War Venomous #1, and then a new title I am so excited for, Wolverine Revenge #1. That is Greg Capullo drawn Wolverine. I am ecstatic. There's also a Wolverine Revenge Red Band, which is an R-rated version of that same comic. Image Comics this week, we've got Black Cloak #7, we have Blood Squad 7 #4, Destro #3, that's in the G.I. Joe universe, as well as G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero #309. A book I'm really excited to check out is Local Man #13. We've also got Plastic, Death and Dolls #3, Rat City #5, Redcoat #5, that's from that same Ghost in the Machine imprint I was talking about earlier with Geiger. We've got Self-Help #3, Sandstill #1, The Walking Dead Deluxe #95, as well as Witchblade #2. From DC Comics, and remember, these are in order of how many books I'm checking out from each publisher, not by favorites. So DC's just got 9 books. And from them, I want to read Batman, Superman, World's Finest #30, Dark Knights of Steel All Winter #2, Gotham City Sirens #3, Green Lantern War Journal #12, Ginny Sparks, a new book from Tom King, #1. Very excited for that. As well as this book, man, Nightwing #117. I'm gonna miss that book. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna miss it. Superman #17, Titans #14, and Wonder Woman #12. There might not be a lot of books from DC, but man, they got some big ones this week between World's Finest, Jenny Sparks, Nightwing, Titans, Wonder Woman. That is a stacked list at DC. Over from Dark Horse, I'm excited to check out Joy Operations #3, Nightclub #2, which is the Mark Miller sequel to his own new title called Nightclub, which is about a vampire little coven of friends. And then at Boom Studios, I'm really excited to check out Blow Away 5, Crocodile Black #4, as well as Lawful #2. That is going to do it. It is a smaller week this August. August, it just seems like a smaller month in comic books. I think Comic-Con month, July, was giant weeks every week. A little bit smaller in August, but those are the ones I'm excited to check out. Next week, I'll tell you which of those were my 9 favorites, and we'll talk about all sorts of news. So please subscribe to this page if you haven't already. Please comment below. Let me know what you're excited to read, what you're excited to have read, what you're excited about in the news. Leave comments in general. And it is always hard to grow comic book stuff, especially as compared to movies, TV, all the other stuff. So if you've got a comic book friend in your life, share this video. I want to get the word out. Let's keep growing this week in comics. And your homework this week, dear comic fans. Other than trade paperbacks, because that's not how I personally read comics, so I don't keep track of them, is there anything you want me to add to This Week in Comics? I do the news, I do, obviously, the previews, I do the reviews, but I don't read manga, so certain things I just don't know. But of the stuff I know and cover, is there any element that could be part of this show that you think would help grow its audience? Because this show does the least of my reviews, those do big, but I'm trying to keep new audiences coming in. Is there anything you think would help that? Let me know in the comments below. I appreciate you guys. I will see you next week. Much love. Do something awesome this week. See you soon. Bye.